The office was unnervingly quiet, the kind of stillness that settled only after hours. Most employees had left long ago, leaving behind the soft hum of the HVAC system and the occasional creak of the building adjusting to the night. My office door was slightly open, casting a sliver of light into the dim hallway. A quick glance at the clock, 10:43 p.m. late, even for me. But deadlines waited for no one. As the head of strategic initiatives, every major decision crossed my desk. It was a role I had fought hard to earn, climbing the corporate ladder with relentless determination. Yet, that success came at a cost. Long nights, missed dinners, and a personal life reduced to little more than a glass of wine and the occasional Netflix romance. Honestly, I barely had time to breathe, let alone navigate the emotional chaos of dating. Work demanded everything, and I gave it without hesitation. Most days, I didn't mind. But tonight, the exhaustion felt heavier. My shoulders ached from hours of poring over reports, and my eyes burned from staring at the screen. With a sigh, I ran a hand through my hair and leaned back in my chair. Just a few more hours, I told myself, though I knew those hours could easily stretch until morning. A soft knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. The unexpected sound made me turn, and there he was, Ethan. He stood in the doorway, leaning casually against the frame, his hands tucked into his pockets. The dim light accentuated the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw, catching the glow from my desk lamp. Ethan, one of my senior analysts. Sharp, driven, and effortlessly charismatic. He carried himself with an easy confidence, as if the world adjusted itself to accommodate him. Of course, I had noticed him before. But I had always made it a point to keep those thoughts locked away. He stepped inside, the soft scuff of his shoes breaking the silence as he moved closer. His gaze held mine, as if he could sense the weight of my exhaustion. Then, without a word, he placed a coffee cup on my desk. The rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee curled between us, warm and inviting. Without thinking, I reached for it, the heat grounding me for a brief moment. I could feel his eyes on me, the quiet intensity of his stare settling over me like something tangible. His presence was unsettling in a way I wasn't prepared for. Too close, too aware. The subtle hint of his cologne, the shift in his expression as he studied me. The air between us thickened, charged with something unspoken. Then, his hand rested on the edge of my desk, just near mine. My breath hitched at the realization of how little space remained between us. His warmth seemed to radiate outward, drawing me in despite the voice in my head urging me to hold my ground. I tried to focus on the coffee, on the unfinished work waiting on my screen. Anything but the way he was unraveling me without even trying. But then, his fingers brushed against mine. The contact was brief, fleeting, yet it sent a jolt of warmth through me, as if the ground beneath me had shifted. My pulse quickened, my grip tightening around the cup as I tried to steady myself. And just like that, the lines I had so carefully drawn between us suddenly felt blurred. I wondered if he could hear it, the rapid, unsteady rhythm of my heartbeat in the thick silence between us. His hand remained near mine, unwavering, deliberate. The air between us crackled with tension, growing tighter with every passing second. His eyes held mine, intense, searching, as if waiting for a silent permission neither of us dared to voice. Yet, I didn't move away. When his lips finally met mine, the world seemed to tilt. It was slow, unhurried, a whisper of a kiss that sent a shiver down my spine. A question. A test. And when I leaned into him, pressing closer, it became an answer. His hands found my waist, pulling me flush against him, his touch both urgent and restrained. The taste of him was intoxicating, coffee laced with something indescribably his, something I hadn't realized I'd been longing for. Time stretched, each second elongated as his fingers traced along my back, leaving a trail of heat in their wake. My body reacted instinctively, arching into him, my breaths shallow and uneven. Every touch was intentional, as if he were memorizing me, mapping my form with reverence. His hands slid down my arms, my sides, igniting every nerve they brushed against. A tremor ran through me, my body betraying the depth of my need. My fingers wove into his hair, twisting in the soft strands as I pulled him closer, desperate for more, lost in a craving that caught me off guard. In that moment, I felt untethered, weightless, as if nothing outside of this moment existed. When his lips left mine to trail along my jaw, then lower, finding the sensitive hollow of my neck, I gasped, the sound escaping before I could contain it. His name hovered on the tip of my tongue, but I swallowed it back, unwilling to break the fragile spell weaving us together. His movements were slow, measured, yet beneath them, I felt the simmering urgency he fought to control. The weight of him against me, the heat of his breath against my skin. It was overwhelming, exquisite, a kind of surrender I had never known before. My pulse hammered wildly as his hands explored with a patience that left me trembling, breathless. And then, slowly, reality seeped back in, like the first light of dawn creeping over the horizon. We lay entwined in the quiet, the steady hum of the building the only sound grounding us in the present. His hand rested on my waist, warm, steady, a silent tether to the moment we had just shared. I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts tangled with emotions I couldn't fully name. Desire, exhilaration, and something deeper, something that unsettled me in the best way. I felt exposed, but not in a way that made me want to retreat. It was as if he had uncovered something within me, something I had long since buried beneath duty and routine. When I finally pulled away, his touch lingered, a quiet echo of what had just passed between us. I smoothed my blouse, ran a hand through my hair, and turned toward my desk, though I could still feel the weight of his gaze following me. The air between us buzzed with remnants of heat, of connection, but I couldn't bring myself to meet his eyes just yet. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to hold on to it. The warmth of his hands, the taste of his kiss, the way he made me feel like I was waking up from years of numbness. But as I settled back into my chair, the soft glow of my laptop screen pulling me back to reality, I knew my life was still waiting. My work. My carefully constructed walls. Still for tonight, just for tonight, I let myself linger in the feeling, savoring the ember of something I hadn't even known I was missing. And as the clock inched toward midnight, one truth settled deep inside me. No matter what came next, I wouldn't forget the way he made me feel, like a woman rediscovering the rhythm of her own heart.